You see it every day. The first dollar you earned from your first customer. Now it hangs on your wall at headquarters. A reminder of where you started and the promise of what's still to come. In part because you rely on Sandy Spring Bank to help you make the right choices on real estate and equipment loans, treasury management, and commercial services. We believe real banking is a conversation. Let's talk about your business. Visit sandyspringbank.com/business. Credit products offered by Sandy Spring Bank.
What's going on, spectators? We're 3 episodes into 2022, and we just gotta ask, how are those comic book Grail goals coming along? Have you grabbed one of your goal books yet? Yeah, us either, but we will. In the meantime, we've got a new creator Grail tale for you from none other than acclaimed comic book cover artist, David Sanchez. So float away, old man fishing alone in your skiff, and call me by my middle name, Ishmael. This is episode 27.
This is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
Do you think we need one more?
Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
Do you think we need one more?
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
All right, we'll get one more.
Spectators, a comic book podcast with Jake and Jesus.
Hello again, all you spectators out there, and welcome to the latest episode of Spectales, a comic book podcast where we ask collectors and creators the ridiculously juicy question, what's your Grail tale? That's right, every week we discuss a news story about how a Grail was obtained or how a treasured piece of comic art inspired a new voice in the world of comics. We also lean into comic speculation and how the hobby can pay for itself. We're your tirelessly dedicated hosts, Jake and Jesus. Jesus, how the hell are you this week?
Oh man, I'm doing wonderful, man. I'm doing big time. I want to say the word big as much as I can, and you'll find out why in a little bit. Oh,
okay. So you're kind of alluding to something. Is that what it is?
That's correct. I'm teasing something.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable with what you're alluding to. I don't know, man. Just keep it clean, man. We've got children who listen to this show.
Yeah, we got children who listen. Yeah, I know.
They're your kids, so.
Specifically.
No, I don't know what you're talking about, but I guess we'll find out, and so will the listeners. But before we get into anything, I want to start by thanking all the listeners out there. We've had a blast. 2 weeks ago, we had the giant size New Year's special where we had a lot of guests. We did a giveaway. And tonight, we actually just recorded the Instagram Live where we gave away the books from the listener giveaway. And I got to say, I thought it went really well. How about you?
I think it went great. The only thing, and I'm not going to, I'll show it to you guys later at some point, but I had to do an impromptu artist. This is the artist level that I have of the Man Plus. If you guys were on it, it's on our Instagram. That's as good as I can draw. So it went good except for the Man Plus IOU.
Yeah, but you know what though? You should sign that artwork. That might be worth something. It's a variant cover for Man Plus. But it was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll start doing IG lives a little bit more. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll do a live episode of Spectales at some point. That might be kind of fun. But I'm getting ahead of ourselves. I don't want to be promising anything that we can't fulfill because, for all I'm not the greatest live act there is out there for sure. You'll have to carry the load on that one.
just like my thumb did earlier. So,
your thumb. Thanks for joining me on screen, by the way.
Yeah. You saw how slick that was? That was pretty slick, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I'm going to do all the computer work. You can do all the talking. Yeah, great. We'll switch that up next time. All right, man. Well, tonight, this episode that we're recording now, episode 27, I'm pretty excited. Last week we had Swaggelhaus on, which was a lot of fun. If you didn't listen, Swaggelhaus Comics joined us last week. Go check out the episode if you haven't listened to it yet. But this week, we are extremely excited about our next guest. He hails from the same state as Jesus. That's Texas. And has done cover artwork for literally every major publisher you can think of, from DC to Marvel, Image to Boom, Dynamite, IDW, and Aftershock, just to name a few. If you've been a collector in the last couple of years, there is literally no way possible you haven't seen his incredible work. He is the strikingly talented David Sanchez. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's great to be here.
No, it's a pleasure to have you.
As they say,
I have to correct you on one thing. I haven't done any Marvel work yet, so hopefully one day. One day.
Oh my God, did I get it wrong? Hey, Zeus.
I haven't done Marvel yet. I wish.
Oh, all right. I'm so sorry, but I guess for some reason I thought you had done Marvel.
At least for me, I think you've done some commission work, right, on some blank sketches. I think I saw some Ghost Rider and I saw Taskmaster 2, right?
Right, yeah. I've done commission work on a lot of Marvel books. I have really been looking forward. I've been in talks to do covers for Marvel, but it's a process, and I still have a lot of dues to pay. So it'll probably be a while. I'm hoping soon, but right now I can honestly say I still have a lot more work to do. So maybe one day.
Well, that was my mistake. I want to say for some reason, because I thought I did sell research. I tried, of course, but I thought maybe I read this somewhere though. Is Ghost Rider one of your favorite characters to draw?
It is.
Okay.
He's been a favorite of mine for a while. I just I don't know. For me personally, he kind of speaks to me in a way that I can understand. And some characters you really just don't mesh well with when you draw. But I mean, there are artists that can just draw just about anything. For me, and that don't need references or don't need to get refreshers or have refreshers on certain things. But for me, it's all in my head. Like Ghost Rider, Spawn, all those creepy, dark, anti-heroes type superheroes. And, for me personally, we were in talks to do something like that as a published book, but a lot of that there's a waiting game basically, and so for me to have that opportunity, especially when Ghost Rider just came out with a new run, I wish I would have been a part of it, but it's it takes a lot of faith and a lot of trust, and that's something I feel like I still need to earn. So. Hopefully one day.
All right. Well, strike one against Jake so far. David, please keep me honest the entire episode. I'll see if the rest of my notes hold up. But just to no, keep me honest. That's the way it goes. So let's roll into the episode. David, I'm going to do a refresher for you and for those joining the audience who maybe haven't listened to us before, but maybe they joined to hear you talk. Which in that particular case, I'll try and get off the mic as quickly as I can. So we do three basic segments. We're going to start with recent pickups, where we talk about a recent book that we either read or picked up or something. It can be whatever we make of it. And then we roll into the Grail tale, which is where we ask you what your Grail tale is, what the book is that either inspired you or a Grail that you have held for a long time that's very important to you. We'll let you make it whatever you want. And then we always close out every episode with a speculation book, something that, we have a lot of listeners who are collectors, who are hobbyists, who are trying to make the hobby pay for itself. So we always end with speculation, and we just have a lot of fun with that. So let's start by rolling into, first, everything makes sense on that? All good?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Then let's go ahead and roll right into the first segment, recent pickups. Hey, Zeus, I'm going to let you take the mic.
All right, man. I have two recent pickups that I want to talk about. I guess I was going to start one way, but I'll do it backwards so we can talk about the second one. The first one I recently picked up today is a John Tyler Christopher negative variant. We know that that's a thing in the community, in the collecting community. The negative variants, as you guys know, is where they use the background as part of the character's form, I guess you can say. They're pretty cool. This one is the Boba Fett Empire Strikes Back #1 negative space variant. And I was not able to snag a first printing. They were super limited. I missed out on it, but I did snag a second printing. I think it's really cool. They usually take a few months to come in, but I did snag one today. So that's the first one of my recent pickups.
Nice.
And then the second one I wanted to talk about is I picked up a Young Avengers #1 from 2005. It has a bunch of first appearances on it. It's pretty cool. But this one, the one that I picked up, is a variant. It's a director's cut sketch variant. Now, the two things I want to talk about is, one, this is a weird book where the variant or the partial sketch variant is going for cheaper than the cover A, right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, why is it going cheaper? And the amount ordered by retailers is under 20,000. It's 18,550 of this variant. So I don't know why this variant is going for cheaper. It's a cool, it's like a partial sketch variant. I think it says on there, director's cut. So, but that's the one that I picked up, and I kind of wanted to throw that out there and say, and ask that question: why is this one specifically, when it's kind of a low run, less than the original cover A?
Yeah, it may I don't know the artwork on both of those, but do you think that it's just a desirable artwork sort of situation?
I mean, it's the same artwork. It's just like
it is the same artwork.
Yeah, a couple of the characters aren't fully colored in, and it says director's cut underneath it. So there's less of them on there. But I don't know. It's just a question out there to the listeners and spectators out there. But I think it's a good pickup. I think Young Avengers has some legs on it. If you can get some variants on it. I mean, there's some other variants that are more expensive. I think there's a Wizard World one. There's the 9.5 edition that's super rare. And then there's also a reprint that's cheaper. But yeah, it's just an interesting little issue, I guess, that I can think of, where a variant that is pretty cool, that has less circulating out there, is cheaper than the cover A, which has a ton of copies out there.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, for all you out there listening, go ahead and look at it yourself, see what you think, and if you agree with Jesus that maybe it should be a little bit more scarce, it should be a little bit more valuable. David, you don't have to worry about the pronunciation of the word scarce. That's just something weird that Jesus does.
There's nothing weird about it. We have a scarce army at our back, charging forward for our podcast. You saw them, live and in action today on our live on Instagram. The scarce army is here. We can't be denied anymore. We want a seat at the table, Jake. It's
just the word scarce, David. That's all it is. It's just the word scarce. He just puts an umlaut above the A. That's all.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was thinking. Maybe he has a little wiggly
David, is there anything that you've recently picked up that you wanna talk about?
I've always been a big fan of Conan, and I really haven't drawn much Conan. It's been a long time, but Conan for me has always been like a big deal in my family because my dad was super into it. That, like, Conan and like Rhino and characters that really just stood out above everyone else. And in my opinion, Conan was the truth growing up. Arnold, and watching movies. My dad would tell me he took my mother on their first date to go watch Conan. So I was like, well, I'm stuck with it.
That's the best.
Yeah. So I recently saw that they came out with like this collage variant to King Conan, and I had
wow.
I don't know if you can see it, but it's
I can see it, dude. That's holy cow.
I don't know why I picked it up. Honestly, I picked it up because Conan, but the other part of it, I think, was really just with the amount of different covers that they used to create the image and fill in the color tones and stuff like that. It was a really cool pickup, and it's a variant edition. It's #1 for King Conan.
So that's a mosaic. That is just all
mosaic, basically the mosaic edition.
Wow.
Version of it. I think it's cover D, if I'm not mistaken.
Man, that's
I might be
cool.
wrong on that, but I had to have it. I don't know. I just collect everything Conan. The one thing I am trying to get right now, which will be another good topic for the Grail side of it, but I am trying to get it. It's going to take a while, but it's that Conan #1 and the first appearance of Red Sonja. That's the one I'm trying to get. So
nice. Hey, that's a worthy Grail. That is a worthy Grail.
Yeah. It's for me, it's just something that I've been collecting over the years. Every time they've tried to give birth to the new series or new run, and I just always picked up the number one. Never read it. I didn't really get into the story. I just love the art, and that's always been the thing for me. I don't know why. I need to start reading more, basically.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. But that's a really cool cover. I didn't even know that existed, man. Now I want to get that cover. That cover is dope, man.
And you know what? And I bet that they didn't make that many of them. I mean, with no disrespect to Conan, it is not the highest run title there is on the shelf every week, on a monthly basis, right?
That's why I love the underdog. Basically, I mean, it's like you never know what's really gonna blow up in value. When Something's Killing Children came out, nobody really thought it was gonna do as well as it did, and I had number ones. I had a stack of number ones when I was working in the store right in front of me, and I'm like, first prints, great. Now it's like, can't even find them, and if you do, you're going to pay a lot of money for it. So
that stack is worth about $10,000 now, maybe more.
Yeah.
I was lucky to be a part of the whole story and everything. I was lucky to be a part of the project and do a cover for the title, but it was like, you never really know what's going to blow up. And Young Avengers too, Kate Bishop with her coming out with her new series, of course, being already out, and we had, I think, about 50 or 60 of those books in the dollar bin, and we had to pull them all out because of Kate Bishop. So you just don't know, and you don't realize until it's too late sometimes.
And they're not dollar bin books anymore, man.
Not anymore.
You mentioned the store you work at, and I wanted to just highlight that. What store do you work at when you're not drawing or creating?
So my studio is actually located at Pastime Comics and Collectibles. They're based out of Watauga, Texas. They're owned and operated by three good buddies of mine, Julian Rowan, Chris Hayes, and Brian Durrett. They just a bunch of nerds that threw on comic book shows at local high schools when I met them, and I call it the Bulga over here, the flea market, but it's like it's called Traders Village here in Irving or in Grand Prairie. First store they ever had was this nice little corner in a storage unit store that was in there, and the next year they ended up buying a whole new place and getting a brick and mortar set up, and then when COVID hit, they expanded to the store next door to them, which was this massive karate dojo, and they just gutted it out, turned it into a comic book store, and they needed some help, and I needed a place to work, so I told them I'd come out if I can have a room in the back to draw. So
that's incredible. That's a great story, and that it's very cool that you're mixing the art of the comic books with the front, the front end sales, right? Like that's, it's incredible.
Yeah,
it's literally being made in-house.
It's cool to be a part of it too. And then people, I don't know, it's been weird lately. A lot of people are like, you're that guy that drew this, right? You work here? And I'm like, yeah. I am nobody special, man. Just somebody that likes to draw, And it's like, I didn't know you work here. I've been living next door. I've collected art, I appreciate that. That makes me feel good. But yeah, I'm just a normal guy.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love that. I love that part of your story that you're, the shop that, as you put it earlier, I guess when we were talking, is they gave you your start, right? They're the ones that kind of gave you that opportunity in a way.
Yeah, it was pretty. I used to be like a super heavy into how sports car brakes are now going a big thing and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They were big back then too, but I used to do that, and I used to have a following doing that. And at one point, I was just I want to draw Ezekiel Elliott, man. I want to draw cowboy players, see what happens, because I'm in brakes, and all I deal with is football players and basketball stuff. And so I just drew Zeke, and then all of a sudden it just went crazy. Everybody saw my work, and then the owner of Pastime saw my work, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "What? I'm just hanging out. No big deal, right? Just drawing." And he's like, "You don't need to be doing what you're doing. You need to be drawing comic books." And he was actually a creator of a comic series, and starting up, and he was very motivated to get me a part of the project, and I drew one cover for him, and since then it's been Power Rangers and Something's Killing Children, DC. It all started with him, so something I never let him forget every time I talk about it. So
incredible. Well, one of my recent pickups, just to keep things on the track, is something that you've worked on. It's not the one you specifically worked on, although Jesus has that one prominently hanging there. I always love that cover. But this is Department of Truth. This is issue 15. So I actually this just came out yesterday. It was a part of my Wednesday poll list. And this is on my every month, I got to read it first day I get it kind of thing. I have not read this yet, but it is sitting here going to be read eventually after the interview's done. So, but all right. Well, that said, I think we can move into the Grail Tale segment, which, David, for us, this is the best segment of all, because we kind of turn the mic over to you and see what, we don't know what you're going to do with it. So we just see what happens.
So as far as a Grail for me, growing up, obviously it's been the main characters, like I was saying earlier, that really stood out to me. Like in one thing I showed you in the beginning when we started was the first appearance of Rhino. And I've been a huge fan of it for a while, and I've just never been able to find a copy that was affordable and didn't leave me second guessing my life choices going forward. And I was able to find one, and oddly enough, I had been invited to a show by Dork Buzz, another facilitator in Austin, or I think they're in Houston as well. And they had invited me to go to Comicpalooza, and I was lucky enough to set up in their booth, and they had brought all their slabs, and I was like just a kid in a candy store. If I wasn't working, I was turned around looking at the wall. And Brad and David there, and Matthew, everybody there that was a part of the setup, were just super anxious to show me something, and because they had heard that I was interested in looking for a specific book, and they were like, "We got something for you, man. Let's show you it." And I was like, "All right, well, what is it?" And sure enough, they showed me this restoration grade Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. This is number 41, the first appearance of Rhino, signed by Stan Lee. And immediately I thought, well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford it, guys. I'm here working right now. Let me see how I don't go to shows to make money. I go to shows to meet people and get my name out, and money comes or whatever, but it's not my main focus. So I'm like, how am I going to afford this? My fiance is with me. She's going to kill me if she finds out how much I spent on this thing. And, it wasn't a lot after all was said and done. It was crazy how much they offered or asked for. And I couldn't believe it. And, my fiance didn't kill me at all after the fact, so I'm still here. So it's definitely worth the price tag. And it is a restoration. I really don't care about grades. I don't care about, it could be a 0.5 and I'll still love it just the same, and so that to me was a big Grail opportunity to have, and
something that you'd wanted for a while, and you just got that. Is that right? Just this last year?
Yeah, I just got it, and part of me is just like, it's still in awe when I get to look at it. But I'm ready to add more to that list, like Vulture, freaking Morbius, everybody that I could think of, especially after seeing the newest movie. Yeah. And so it's been tough, and looking at price tags all day, you kind of get sick to your stomach looking at how much the stuff is, but it's worth it though.
Well, it's signed by Stan Lee. That's incredible.
I know.
That was another reason why I couldn't let it go. I've had plenty of chances when I was just, somebody going to a show to hang out and just look around, see what all was there. I had plenty of chances to meet him. I just, for the life of me, I just didn't want to wait in line. That line was just super long and
always long. Longest line
but
longest line there every time he was there, huh?
yeah, it's always the longest line. But I that's about as close as I've gotten to him. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to see him before he passed, but I'm glad I was able to get some ink from him, and hopefully, I could continue to add more to my collection. I only have 2 other pieces signed by Stan Lee, so I'm not too sure what all I can afford now, but I'm just happy with the market going up the way it has, and
Yeah.
I'm just happy to be next to them in person.
It's cool that you were able to get that that Grail of yours, and after from what I can tell, wanting it for a long time. But the nice thing about Grails or these books, we've talked to a lot of people, and everybody says, you can't just go to eBay and just take the easy out, right? Well, I mean, you can, right? You can put it all on your credit card, whatever you want to do. But this book came to you in the most interesting way, right? You were there for work, and it was they knew it. They brought it to you. There's just something about it when the book presents itself. And I think that's cool. I think that's very cool.
No, it was definitely a surprise. And honestly, I couldn't believe that they even remembered. This is something that we talked about before I became a professional artist when I first met them. And they said it at that moment too. It's like, you remember a year ago when you said you wanted this book? I remembered. I got you. I got you one. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna go broke now. Thank you.
Hey, but
you're gonna be rich, and I'm gonna be broke. So.
But that's also like goes to the connections and the people that you've met and that you foster, the relationships you foster, man. So I think that's pretty cool. And that's cool that you got it from them too, right? Like you always have that you got it from them versus somebody else.
Yeah, somebody that's close to me. And, they're good people. And Dork Buzz has been a company that's done facilitating for a number of years. And they treat everybody with respect, but it's just how they treat artists. They treat you like I said, I'm just a normal guy that likes to draw, but they treat you way better than that. And for them to remember something as simple as a book, it from a conversation a year ago, that we have never brought up or refreshed on since, it meant the world to me. So I had to. There was no question for sure. I was not leaving that convention without that book. So.
Nice. So I have another question, man, on these books too, because I feel like, you mentioned you come from a background of breaking, sports cards and collectibles and basketball cards and things of that nature, right? So are you like just coming into collecting comic books now again, or how did that work out for you?
Well, it was a weird process switching from what I was doing, because I don't know, I don't like to use the word hustler because it makes me feel like I'm like not really, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just a term that I've grown up. I've never really
grinding. You were grinding.
Yeah. And so it's when I would work, I've always had to keep my mind busy with stuff. Drawing was the number one thing for me. And I was always trying to make money doing something else, because when you have a father to take care of because he's had some medical issues, and mother that's had some medical issues, and you got bills to pay, you got to work and you got to do what you got to do. So there's only so many hours in the day I can work. So on that side, I would actually do breaks and got involved in the community. My brother-in-law actually got me involved in that, and it helped me to think and react aggressively on your passions. Because before it was, it was a money type thing. And then all of a sudden I really started loving this. I really love cards. I really love sports. I really love the atmosphere. I love people and, involved in it. So it really taught me to appreciate it more. And that transferred over to my comic book side and being an artist. I didn't think I was good enough to do all this that I've done. I still don't think I'm good enough. I still have a lot to prove. But for a lot of my childhood, you draw for your mom, your dad, and they tell you what you want to hear and stuff like that. You never, your family just tells you what you want to hear. But I was always afraid to make that jump and take that risk. And, when you start getting the response that you're getting and it's all positive, now you start to love it more and you start to appreciate it more for what it is. So that in return carried over to collecting comic books. And, you get to slab your own books now. You get to see your stuff, out there for people. People really love what you do. And I'm not the best at social media. I take forever to reply sometimes. I don't post daily like everybody else does. All I want to do in my life and my career is draw and draw well and be remembered for something good. But I also want to indulge in the beauties of this industry, and that's collecting and having those moments and those experiences. That's why I bought the book. That's why I collect now. It went so far as for me breaking mystery slabs in my break group that I had. Like I went from breaking football cards and baseball cards to drawing comic books to going back to breaks and breaking slabs and unveiling these crazy books. There's books that I've unveiled that I have here that I've actually opened and broke for somebody else to win. I ended up buying them because they were so good. So like I pulled a Shazam #1 signed by Zachary Levi.
Oh, nice.
Amazing.
Just something cool. And I don't know why this was in there, but I ended up keeping it anyway. Because it was more about like celebrities and stuff like that. But it came out of the box and it was like the Shannon Mare, the Mary Jane Black and
Oh,
Gray.
nice.
Wow.
9/8 too.
9/8, and I just so stuff like that, you don't just look at it as a book anymore. You look at it as an extension to your personality and yourself. So I love what I do now. I love collecting even more, even though my wallet and my fiance hate it.
We all know that feeling. Yeah, our wallets all hate us. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
but
bank accounts, wives. Yeah, dude.
Bank account looks good one minute, the next minute it's all empty and stuff. So, it happens. But Conan, like I said, when I do come across that book, I can buy it now. It's not an issue. It's just I'm looking for that moment, like I had with Rhino.
Yeah.
The
book will present itself to you. It will come to you in so many ways. If you don't mind, can I ask about some of your work? I love a lot of the stuff that you've done. Something is Killing the Children has come up already that I know has been, the series itself, everybody knows the series. It kind of took the world by storm. And I was lucky enough to, stumble into an LCS. That's when I started reading again, was right near the beginning of that series. And sort of right near the beginning of that series, and Ice Cream Man wasn't too far along at that point. It was still a new series at the time. And so what I felt like, I'm a big horror reader. I read a lot of horror stories. And I thought that I was just in heaven, right? With Tinian's stuff. He came out with that, and then, the Department of Truth. And so I was just loving that. And you've done work for Department of Truth as well. And you did Haha, right? For Maxwell Prince?
I've actually done Ice Cream Man. I've done Haha. I've done Department of Truth, Vampirella, Something's Killing Children.
Yep.
A new series that came out back in the middle of last year was Dark Blood. I did want to cover for that.
That's right.
A recent series by Scotty Young, The Me Love in the Dark. I did a cover for that, which was great. Awesome project. Love that tremendously. And then I've done Power Rangers. I've done The Last Ronin with IDW.
Yes, love that series. Love that series.
Yeah, very emotional series. If you're talking
God, it rips my heart out on every 6 months or whenever they drop a book.
No, it was like the purest pain that I felt from reading a book in a while. Chuck E. Cheese birthday parties growing up, man. Ninja Turtle, this, that.
Oh.
It's just it was hard to read, but it was so good though.
Oh, man. Dude, issue 2. I had to go back and reread it. I was like, I think I read it wrong. They wouldn't have done this. They wouldn't have done this to me. And they did. Oh my. Oh God. Right in the heart.
And the issue I got to work on, I mean, it was issue 3, and it was just brutal. Like the way that, you got to see April and just see the way she looks and going into the story too. Now you're talking about her daughter now, and then Raphael's story. It's just, there's so many things that really just kind of pulled on the heartstrings, and not in a gentle way either. It was like, no.
Oh no, they rip your heart out. Yeah, exactly. So with all of the work that you've accumulated, now you're working with DC on a lot of covers. Is that correct?
Hopefully a lot. I've just finished one, which it will be unveiled. I will unveil it Saturday. It's my first cover with them. I've been working for the Dallas Cowboys recently, so a lot of my work has been really tailored around a lot of what they want. But one of the projects they offered me came at the exact time I was working on my cover for the DC, so I was kind of torn in between the two, and that's why you haven't seen anything on my social media for the past month, is because I've just been stuck at this art table, just
head down, getting stuff done.
Head down, and there's not enough coffee in the world to keep me up sometimes. But
well, I was going to be the asshole who asks you if you have a favorite of your own work.
Me personally, I love my Power Ranger cover.
Okay.
I don't know. I cried when I got that cover. I'm not afraid to admit it. I got the phone call. It was an accident how it happened. Because the retailer that I worked with at the time, I had just drawn Vampirella. I drew it, and nobody had offered me the gig at all. So what I did was I started knocking on doors, and I was like, "Hey, I did this Vampirella. Do you think you might be wanting to use it for a cover potentially?" Luckily, I didn't have to knock on many doors because Pastime had found out I drew it, and they were like, "We'll do a cover for you on that one." And I'm like, "Cool, there you go. I work here, so here's your artwork."
Nice.
And so, but at the time that they offered to take it on, I had already mentioned it to someone else, and they were kind of deciding whether or not they wanted to do it. And unfortunately, they didn't get back to me in time. And but when I told them the bad news, they were like, "Well, that's okay. What about Power Rangers? You want to do Power Rangers?" I was like, "You serious? Like, how do you go from Vampirella to Power Rangers?" Like, And we were talking Tyler Higgins. We're talking key issue here. We're talking Power Rangers. And I was like, immediately when I got the email and the phone call, I cried like a baby for like a good 2 hours, man. I was like, you felt like you made it at that point. And not only that, my cover it's a favorite of mine just because it's the first appearance or the identity of they unveil the identity of the new Green Ranger.
Mm-hmm.
And, like I said, growing up, you have birthday parties as a child.
Yep.
They're all themed based.
Yep.
And
we all went through the same transition, right? Power Rangers came after the Ninja Turtles, but the Ninja Turtles came after Transformers. And it just kind of went in that way.
A domino effect of just awesomeness back in the 80s and 90s. And then I don't know, I just couldn't believe it. I watched these when I get home from school. I would Halloween costumes, whatever you think of, I had everything to do with Power Rangers. So when I got the gig, I was really happy to be able to at least draw what I wanted to draw. And that was the cool thing about that was I tried to do my best on it. I really did. But had I gone a little bit more in depth with the characters and the reflection, I just wanted to do something really up close to show the detail, to show the emotion, the pain that it took me to get that cover done. And it was worth it in the end. I mean, not a lot of people knew about it. Not a lot of people knew I had done it.
And would you mind, what was the number on that issue? And
it was Mighty Morphin number 4.
Mighty Morphin number 4, and that is which variant is it? What's the variant?
It's a 221 Comics exclusive.
221.
So 221 is going to be on the back there at the bottom. And again, it's the unveiling of Matthew Cook, or his identity, which is Matthew Cook, which is the new Green Ranger.
I highly recommend listeners out there Google this. The cover. There is no way Jesus or I are going to have the adequate words to say how gorgeous the cover truly is. I have seen the cover before. I'm not a Power Rangers reader. In this case, it's just not a series that I've been putting on the pull list lately. However, I've seen that cover multiple times because it's made its rounds on social media. A lot of people loved it. And the reflection, how you were able to capture the beauty of it was just, I mean, it just blows my mind. Like it doesn't look like something somebody should be able to create, and yet you did. So go look it up, everybody out there listening. It's well worth the Google, and maybe buy one, right?
Definitely a tough draw. I mean, I got to work with Ula Moss as a colorist on it, which she hates me now, but I didn't draw all the covers she's worked with on me. She's probably gotten mad at me because of it, but she did an amazing job, and no disrespect to any of the colorists I've worked with after her, but she was by far the best colorist I've ever worked with, and she deserves all the credit of that book. If not, I'm just going to claim it as her cover. I drew it, but she made it look beautiful.
The colors are incredible as well. Well, David, I think we're going to try transitioning to kind of our final segment of the show, and that is the speculation segment. Jesus always gets super excited about this segment. He's got to speculate all the time. I don't know why. So Jesus, since you're so excited to jump away from the previous segment into the new one, I'll let you take it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's me. I'm sure it's me, and I'm sure it's me that loves spec. Which, yeah, I do. I guess so. Jake. But I do want to speculate on one book. I've talked about a couple other books, or one other book specifically from David. So this is gonna be a David book, just so you guys know. I'm not gonna talk about that book that's on my wall that everybody knows about, the Tupac book. Everybody knows that book already. That book is, I mean, if you hold it in your hands too long, you're gonna get burned. That's how hot that book is. I was fortunate enough to get one myself, so I do have one. And I have the poster signed, so it's not that one. But this book is another key, like David had mentioned before. It's Something Is Killing the Children, number 16. It's actually the origin of Erica Slaughter, which is, as we know in comic books, the origins are a big deal. And there's a David Sanchez variant. There's two of them actually, right? There's a regular one that's 1,000, limited to 1,000 books, and then I think there's a trade dress at 1,500, right? So there's two books. They're limited, 1,000, 1,500. Origin of Erica Slaughter. This book has been optioned. It's going to be on Netflix. The A-Team is working on it on Netflix. Get it while you can. It's very affordable right now, and it shouldn't be. I mean, it really shouldn't be that affordable for what it is and for the artist that did the cover of it, which is also cool, right? Like that I think it was a cosplayer, right? That cosplayed it, and then you drew it. Is that how that worked?
That's correct. I met somebody. Okay. So I wanted to draw Something's Killing the Children. I actually petitioned to draw Something's Killing the Children pretty heavily from issue 10 all the way up until I finally got an offer, which was issue 15. Mm-hmm. And when I got the opportunity, issue 15 was with Pastime Comics, and they knew how much I was really motivated on drawing this book. But the only way for me to get the job, I felt like I was, because I hadn't done anything. I had to prove I deserved that job. And so what I did was I found a buddy of mine by the name of Ryan Rumley, who also owns Nocturnal Rabbit Comics. And he mentioned, hey, why don't you just draw a commission? Just draw a book, draw on a blank, and just put it out there, see what happens. And I ended up searching a little bit, but he was the one that introduced me to Katie. Katie was the model that I used, and I drew Katie on a commissioned blank without her permission, and thinking that it was going to be I was probably gonna get in trouble for it, but no, she actually loved it, and it made the rounds, and everybody was just like, "Is this a variant? Is this?" And I just couldn't believe that they were talking about my book, and it was just a commission, like anybody could draw on one of those blanks, So it was cool, and not shortly after that, from being denied so many times to finally getting the call, like, "Hey, you ready to go? It's time." And I'm like, "All right, I got you. I'll get it done." And I felt like it was appropriate to Katie was really the reason or the inspiration and the reason why I got the gig, and in my eyes, and I felt like she deserved to be a part of the project with me. So from 15 through 16, she was my Erica Slaughter to my Jessica Slaughter, and so she did an amazing job helping me and giving me the tools I needed to be successful in that cover. My cover was great. There were a lot of covers for issue 16, quite a few, and all of them were great. All of them were so different and so stylistically setting each other apart stylistically. But it was definitely a good chance for me to read the story, understand what it was about, and really learn based on that story how to create a cover.
Yeah.
Well, I like the spec.
It's on my spec list, guys. I need to pick that book up. So don't buy any. Wait till I get mine.
However, David, you gave a lot of great information on that. Unfortunately, that was Jesus's spec, so I'm still going to have to ask you for.
Don't worry.
And so I don't know if you. It sounds to me like you're pretty fluent in the game as far as speculation and maybe where there might be some value out there in the community, and for all we know, it's some hidden book that you did that nobody knows about yet, or something like that. But I'll let you take the mic. What do you think?
I mean, as far as the covers that I've done, putting those into perspective, I think a hidden gem, in my opinion, would be Dark Blood, just because of it. The Latoya is just a great writer, and she was part of the Walking Dead run, and she just signed with WB just recently. And so with that story and the amount of passion and the history what's involved in that story, being there's segregation involved in it. There's a lot of historical facts involved with regards to the planes that the Tuskegee Airmen were flying, and a lot of historical accuracy that I just really enjoyed it. But in my opinion, I think that book might be, if it's something that I've done that hasn't already been announced as it being optioned for a show or a series or a movie, I think that's a close one, honestly, just with the fact that she's recently signed with WB. She has a voice within that organization now, and for her to take on that. I didn't draw the best cover in the world out of that series. There was a ton of other ones. I honestly had very little time to do it, but I thought I did pretty well on it based on what I was working on. And just
which issue did you work on?
It was issue number 1.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So you did number 1, but in general, so you're just saying you think that series overall is just undervalued.
Undervalued, quite a bit, and that's just my speculation involved with that. I think it actually could be right where it's supposed to be, but honestly, I feel like it should be where, like the Something's Killing Children, or maybe not in the overall story or popularity, but just in the overall historical accuracy and the passion that she had for that project. To be a part of it, like I said, was definitely an honor. And for that to happen, and for it to come to this point and it not have that much popularity now, is unfortunate, but I feel like it's going to grow. It's a slow moving growth, but I love it. And I think she did an amazing job with the story. And not only that, she they gave us so much material to go off of when creating these covers. And I think really where she's at now, it could be another show or possibly something that'll blow up as a series. You just never know. So
nice. Very nice. All right. Well, I've got kind of a recent book as well for my spec. And we all kind of went with indie comics for our books, which I really enjoy. I'm a big fan of going with the indie publishers for some. I'm going with Gideon Falls, #1. This is a book written by Jeff Lemire, art by Andrea Sorrentino, excuse me for the name pronunciation, and colors by Dave Stewart. It was from 2018. Jeff Lemire, you may be familiar. He is the writer behind Essex County, Sweet Tooth, and a number of a lot of, he's worked on a ton of books. I'm not going to go through the entire list, but I bring up Sweet Tooth though, because that is a series now on Netflix. It got picked up and they took kind of that weird, unique thing that he does when he writes, and they turned it into a fairly successful Netflix series that also made the value of those books go up. Gideon Falls recently was found in a tweet by Jeff, who was saying that it was optioned back in 2019, and they said that James Wan was going to direct the pilot. Well, that was 2019, and then the pandemic happened and everything sort of, went to shit. However, it has recently resurfaced and the pilot script is done, and it looks like they're rolling into production on the pilot. James Wan's still on board. This is a dark horror series. It's really good. If you didn't read it, it was about 27 issues long. There are 6 trades you can go and look for. They're available for reading. I highly recommend you read it. I kind of forgot about this series, to be honest. And then, the recent news popped up with the tweet. But the thing that I'm saying is that Gideon's Falls #1 is, no pun intended, it's fallen off, right? Like it's not the most valuable book out there. But if you go and look at what happened with Sweet Tooth and what that book is doing from a standpoint, it carries a lot of value now. So if you're looking for another Jeff Lemire book to go speculate on, I think Gideon Falls is a good one.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go ahead, David. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it was definitely a unique book when I first saw the #1 issue release for Gideon Falls. It was not a book I really jumped into reading wise, but I get the opportunity to see these books at the day they come in for new comic book Wednesday.
Yep.
So it was definitely something that caught my attention, just from a artistic standpoint and the overall appeal of the look of the book. But I just, when you're jumping into several hundred books that come in at once, you're kind of like, you gotta work, you can't stop. But I definitely love the series. Love to see what goes on with that, because I just think the artwork, if they can translate that to the big screen, I think it would be just amazing. It's gonna be
dark and it's gonna be graphic, and I think that it's gonna work. In my opinion, I think it's one of those series that could really transition well, because there are just a ton of people out there looking right now, at the very least, for that dark, horrifying stuff. I don't know why. I mean, I'm one of them, but I don't know why. Everybody's just kind of drawn to that horror, darkness right now. I don't know.
They want real life reflected in the series. That's why.
They want to feel like it could possibly happen to them.
So real quickly, you mentioned Sweet Tooth. Sweet Tooth is hovering around $120 raw for a high grade. Gideon Falls is at $25, sometimes $30. And then shout out to Red Pegasus in Dallas. Red Pegasus put me on to Gideon Falls, so I got the trade. I haven't read it, but now I'm going to read it just because it's going to become a series. So I want to be ahead of the train on it. And I might end up having to pick up #1 as well, since Jake put it on his spec list.
I think it's a good one. All right, David, we've kind of come to the end of the road. The last thing we have left to do is we want to make sure we tell all of our listeners where they can go out and find and engage with you online if they want to know more or learn more about you.
Yeah, I primarily operate both out of Facebook and Instagram. So if you guys want to look me up, it's D Sanchez Artist for both Instagram. I'm working on TikTok stuff right now. I'm trying to get that page of my social media platforms built up. But you can also find me at TikTok at D Sanchez Artist, and then but really, anybody can reach out and say hello. I might take a minute to respond. That's just the way I am sometimes. But I always am open to communicating. If you have any questions about books that I've worked on or anything that you're looking possibly to find. The one thing I will answer everybody's question here that's been asking me for the past 2 months, I don't have any more Tupac Department Truth books. I'm out of them. I only have a few for me, and those are PC copies basically. So
those ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. But thank everybody for supporting that book and giving me the opportunity to show you that I can really draw. I mean, I got a lot of heat for that book just because everybody thought it was photoshopped, and it's I take it as a compliment, really, because of the fact that I can draw realism to that extent, to be able to fool you a little bit and thinking I can do Photoshop. I can barely do StreamYard. So
real quick, man, I have a question. I'm sorry to do this to you too, Jake, at the end, but I've always thought of they didn't want to do like a second printing on that, because you could just easily turn the red into the blue, because you know how they did second printings in blue. I think that'd be cool too.
So I originally, real quick, I had originally thought that they might do something differently. It was originally supposed to be a virgin cover, but I didn't think it would look more official unless it had a trade dress on it. And then the trade dress they came up with when they put it on there was just perfect for it. So we toyed with the idea of possibly doing a virgin copy of that, maybe. The likelihood of that happening, though, is the percentage on that one is very low. It's just with the amount of shortages going on right now on paper and
image,
at image, and a lot of the opportunities that were available last year may not be available for some of us artists, this year, which is fine. But the likelihood of us being able to get approval to have that reprinted in a virgin setting or in a different color, which is a great idea, by the way.
Thank you.
Is definitely low. So,
well, I think it's the artwork that we have received from you has just been incredible. So, David, I'd like to just wrap this episode up by thanking you very much for coming on with us. It was a pleasure to talk to you. It seems like that you're just engrossed, not just in the hobby that we're doing, but you're getting to see both sides of not just how the sausage is, or you're not just a part of how the sausage is made, but you really are on the collector side. You are one of the consumers as well. And that's a unique perspective I think you bring to the table that not everybody does. And everybody's unique in their own way, but I think that's pretty incredible that you're on both sides of the table. I don't know how long that'll last for you, but it sounds like it's here to stay.
Yeah, I'm just, like I said before earlier, I'm grateful to you guys for allowing me to be a part of this and to even want me to be a part of it, much less, it's just it's cool to be associated in an industry that shares as much value in me as I in it. And it's just being able to see what I've done and see where I've come and in such a short period of time. It's great and it's amazing. And honestly, I'm just forever grateful to everybody who supported me and allowed me to have a piece of the industry the way everybody has. So there's a lot more coming. I'll tell you that much. There's a whole lot more to come. But again, I just appreciate you guys allowing me to be here and being a part of this. This is great. I've had a lot of fun. So,
well, thanks for saying so. Cool. Yeah. And you're very welcome. It was definitely our pleasure. For all you out there listening, go look up David Sanchez. Go look up his work if you're not familiar. We couldn't recommend it more. He is a very talented, very genuinely nice human being, and he is very much deserving of your support, and we couldn't recommend him enough. So everybody out there listening, thank you so much. That's going to conclude this episode of Spec Tales. Jesus and I are going to be back, of course, again next week with another special guest. We will maybe reveal it to you a little early. I don't know. Not right now, though. We're gonna keep it a secret. But thanks everybody very much for listening. Have a good week.